Let's go on a journey beyond what we have been told and seek the truth together. Hi. On the 10th of July in 1856, to an Orthodox priest father and a stay-at-home mum, Milutin and Duca, sorry, I have to read that again and every time, was born their son, Nikola Tesla. He was one of 5 children. He also had 1 brother and 3 sisters. He was born in the Austrian Empire, which is later called Croatia. And although his mother was a stay-at-home mum, we understand that she was a very highly intelligent woman. I suppose with a genius such as Nikola Tesla, somebody had to have the brains. He, for all accounts, had a happy and healthy childhood. He grew up well, went to Graz and Prague universities, studying engineering. And for all accounts, he was a happy, healthy young man. I understand that his brother Dane, unfortunately, was killed when he got kicked in the chest by a horse. Horrible thing to have happen, especially when he's your older brother. And just losing a family member is something that, is bad enough. But Nikola would always say that Dane was far more intelligent than he ever was. He was the intelligent one, not Nikola. And I always wondered to myself if that's what drove him. The fact that he had to live up to his brother's mental abilities, or if he was just that well driven. I believe a little bit of both, myself personally. But people who knew him better would most probably say that. But as time goes by, things move on. In 1884, Nikola Tesla and family moved to America, New York actually. Coming to America, hey! And this time it was Nikola's turn to come to America. And landed in New York. This young man whose IQ was, people would say, in the range between 160 and 310. This guy was genius level, And he moved over there in 1884. And that same year, found employment with none other than Thomas Edison. Yes, light bulb Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was already a renowned inventor, and actually quite liked Nikola when they first met. He found him a very captivating and intelligent young man. So much so that Edison was trying to get his DC current to work and offered Nikola $50,000 back in the late 1800s. $50,000. That is a lot of money. But Nikola turned it down because he believed AC current was something better. So you had on one side, you had DC current and Mr. Edison. And on the other side, you had AC current and the great Nikola Tesla. So Nikola, feeling that his way would be better, they parted ways. And Nikola Tesla went on to work for other companies, but the battle between DC and AC current was born. And we all know how it ended, because everything we use now runs on AC current, not DC. Well done, Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, as I understand, had a very good sense of humor. He was a very funny man and loved to make people laugh. But also, there was something that is even better than that, is the fact that he was able to captivate people when he spoke to them, even so much as using poetry to transform their minds into these beautiful pictures about what he was talking about. He could hold a crowd of people in the palm of his hand just purely by talking in such a way that they were captivated by him. But that wasn't the only thing. Now they always say with genius even, there comes a little bit of crazy. And yes, I'm afraid Nikola was no different to all the other geniuses out there. He had a little crazy in him too. Nikola had an obsessive compulsive disorder, which meant that there was things that Nikola liked, disliked. But, for instance, he had definitely aversion to hair, human hair. Yeah, considering the man has hair on his face and on his head. But yeah, that was not only it. He had a real big problem with earrings, women's earrings. What's worse than that? He had a problem with pearls as well. So imagine you were wearing pearl earrings. The one with the pearl earring, straight up. There was no way he'd be hanging around with you. But there was also other things. If he would not be able to enjoy a meal unless he'd collected up all the napkins, placed them in a pile, then he could start eating. Could you imagine you walking into the restaurant and there's no napkins because Nikola Tesla decided that he can't eat until he's got them all piled up? How do I clean my face? Ask Nikola, he's got all the napkins. But the thing most of all was that he had this compulsion for three, the number three, what divided in by three. He did things in threes. He lived with three dominating his life. And yeah, okay, some people will say he's crazy, but yeah, from crazy comes genius. And I truly believe that to be a true genius, sometimes you have to have a little crazy inside you. He had a lot, but then he was a genius. And towards the end of his life, his craziest little quirk was that he had a love for pigeons. One in particular, he loved this pigeon. I don't mean love this pigeon, but not love the pigeon, but he loved pigeons. He's old, was getting on, maybe. And he was a vegetarian. For all you vegans out there, start shouting and screaming. The genius of geniuses was a vegetarian. I never found out why. I would like to have found out why, but I never found out why he, considering especially in those times in life, people would eat a lot of meat, why he decided that he would not have meat in his diet and became a vegetarian. To this day, I don't know why it happened, and that's all I could say on that. But, people we needed to ask was maybe one of his dearest friends, Samuel Clement. Who, I hear some of you say? Mark Twain. Yes, the Mark Twain. Huckleberry Finn for one. All those great books was Tesla's friend. And they were often seen chatting to themselves and laughing and joking with each other. And, they were good friends that used to talk for hours. Both had a very strong mental fortitude, for want of a better word. One great literate, you know what? I'll speak in plain English. One great writer, one great inventor. And they were friends. And they would be often seen together chatting and laughing and enjoying each other's company. As long as he let Nikola take all the napkins, they'd even go out to dinner. But the reason why I thought I would start off my cast with talking about Nikola Tesla, I found Nikola Tesla to be an amazing person. And the more I dug into his life, the more I found that this man was the right person for this world, but born at the wrong time. Reason being is that on the 7th of January, 1943, Nikola Tesla died, broke and alone. I think the biggest cause for that was he used to work for JP Morgan. JP Morgan had financed, had decided that he would finance Tesla to help him with wireless communication, believe it or not. But Nikola had built a Tesla coil. Now, to explain this Tesla coil to you, Nikola Tesla could, and I mean he could, prove that he had wireless electricity. By doing this, he used to scatter light bulbs all around his front yard and all that. And then he would go and flick the switch on his Tesla coil, and they would all light up. Beautiful. Amazing. Nikola Tesla went to Mr. Morgan and said, "Hey, Mr. Morgan, I'm working for you. I'm building you this wireless communications. How about you give me a little bit more money and I could start working on this wireless electricity for you?" When JP Morgan heard about this, he pulled his funding and basically blackballed him. Not basically, he did. He blackballed Nikola Tesla. Now, for you that don't know, JP Morgan was then part of the super rich. There was like 4 rich families in America, like the top layer rich. And he was one of them. Basically, electricity didn't run in America if it wasn't done by JP Morgan. He had timber mills, copper mines, anything to do with electricity, railways to move things, everything that you needed to run a company like that. He was that company. And Nikola Tesla had told him about wireless electricity. Not just that it was wireless, but it was in harmony. It took electricity from Mother Earth. It resonated with Earth and produced electricity. Free electricity, or bloody cheap at least. So you can imagine JP Morgan wasn't going to have that. If he would have been the same as Marconi, or if he was the same as Edison, he may have found a way to work in harmony. But unfortunately, Tesla had these beliefs and these goals. He wanted to provide everyone, even a person from the smallest reaches of the world, he wanted to get them electricity. So what we enjoy now, he could have got that all the way to those people that were miles away from him. And that's all he wanted to do. He wanted to use his gifts to make the world a better place, still keeping it in a greener form. He was a vegan. He wanted everybody to have cheap, affordable electricity. And currently, in the climate that we're living in right now, you can see why he was born. He died broken alone. Nobody was going to pick up that mantle and help him achieve that goal of giving everybody cheap, affordable electricity forever. Because the world runs on money. And the richer people want to stay rich. And you're never going to stay rich if the guy that's working for you is putting you out of business. Because you won't need any more copper mines. You won't need any more timber mines, to carry all these things around. For the cables. And, next time you go outside and you see all those pylons carrying that electricity for miles. The telephone wires. Just imagine if Tesla had his way, would have had wireless communication, would have had wireless electricity. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize is he may have died broken alone, but he was true to himself. Nikola Tesla could have been the richest man in America, in the world. Well, Eli, love one of your cars. He's up there, and he borrowed his name Tesla. So why not does the man who had the name. But how, I hear some of you asking, how would he have been rich? He died broken alone. But imagine if he could play the game like Marconi and Edison could and worked with these captains of industry, how long do you think it would have taken him to be, Edison wanted to pay him 50,000 just to help him produce DC current. But you imagine there was other things he brought to the forefront. For instance, Tesla coil. If somebody had run with that, and he was about money, how much money he could have made if he was the man who could provide electricity to the world. The world. Everywhere you go, AC current is king. Nikola Tesla. Could you imagine if he'd have got his Tesla coil to fruition? Every home would be run on Tesla coils with Tesla electricity running through their homes, which they do now, I may add. Every home runs with AC, which is Tesla current. And I've actually heard it being called that. But that's not just it. X-rays. Yeah, every time you go there, you have a broken bone, or you think somebody has a broken bone, and you have to get an X-ray. Think about it. Nikola Tesla. Imagine how much money he'd have made from that. Magnifying transmitters. Nikola Tesla. He would have, if he'd have made money from that, how much money would he have made? The Tesla turbine. Radio. Neon lamps. Neon signs now. When was the last time you drove past and didn't see a neon sign? Nikola Tesla. Hydroelectricity, hydropower, induction motors, electric motor, radio control. Again, it's wireless communication, wireless control. And the icing on the cake, and this is the absolute icing on the cake. Everybody has a smartphone. Back in the 90s, mobile phones became a thing. It arrived. In 1901, Nikola Tesla had already started looking into smartphone technology. Imagine that, 1901, Tesla was already in the throes of smartphone technology. Years before it came out. Imagine that. Now imagine if he'd have got money that all those things were worth. How rich would that man be right now? But because of one person, Mr. J.P. Morgan, Nikola Tesla died broken alone. That shows you how much power one man has to destroy another man. A visionary. A man that could have changed the world for the better, for the greener. But because he couldn't play the game, he lost out. We lost all that and imagine what else he could have invented. He patented 119 things in America. Patents is when you invent something, you go down to the patent office or patent office or patent office. I say patent, and I'm going to stick with that. Okay, you go to the patent office and you say, I invented this. I'm registering it to my name. So anybody uses it, they have to make money off. They have to pay me. Now imagine that, just from those things I just told you. If he had played the game, how much money would he have been worth? How much? And a very strange thing. The day he died, the NSA and the FBI just happened to be around. So I've understood. And they cleared out his home, his office, his Tesla coil that he proved could work was dismantled and sold for scrap. Of all the boxes that were taken out of his home. Now, this is something. Tesla was methodical. But some boxes went missing. Never found, supposedly. It's amazing that, isn't it? But the boxes that were never found were the kind of boxes that could have changed the world. Strange that. And the FBI and all those, they didn't have it. They're not going to lie, are they? Hey, I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying they don't lie. The American government, it don't lie. But what I'm saying to you is Nikola Tesla, crazy number 3 guy who hated hair. If he saw a little piece of paper hit some water, he'd want to throw up. He had a great friend in Mark Twain. He had an arch nemesis in Thomas Edison when they battled for the AC versus DC current. In the one corner, you had Thomas Edison, DC current. In the next corner, you had Nikola Tesla, AC current. And the winner is Nikola Tesla, AC current. And it was just one. And imagine, we all use this now. We all use this AC current now. Imagine if we had to pay him every time we did. Just think about it. While you're looking on your smartphone, you drive past that neon lamp on your way to the hospital for an X-ray. Things, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, people. 119 patents in America, yeah, and 7 patents in the UK. 125 things that this man said he invented and put his name to it. Of all those things, what would amaze you the most? I know what amazed me. And that's why I thought I would start off with somebody I truly admired and respected. And if I could sit down and have one lunch with him, I'd love to pick his brain on what he thought. Because he was a vegetarian, he was a little bit eccentric, but wanted to make the world a better place for you and me, for everybody. And if he'd have made it for his own pocket, he may not have died broken alone. Well, that's for damn sure. But that's not the man I researched. That's not the man I looked into. The man I looked into was somebody who strived to be as good as his brother was in his eyes. Strive to be as good for humanity, to give us what we needed without having to harm the earth to do so. And for that, he died broke and alone. This is my opinion. Make of it what you will. And I hope it opens your mind to look into things. Because sometimes what you see is just the tip of an iceberg. Take care until we meet again.